For a second, I thought we just abandoned LG, just went on our lives with a Saturday. I thought you guys
no. What was I doing yesterday? Yesterday was reviewing our new sales CRM, customer relationship management platform. Yeah, so there's so much that we could have chose from, and we went with one that kind of goes with Google since we're doing a lot of Google. And let me tell y'all, Instagram ain't about to get much of my time because LinkedIn.
For the cashes.
LinkedIn.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us at the Financial Griot. Obviously, that was a cold open where we're going to be discussing our lifestyle strategies, either be what's going on in our life, what hasn't been working, or even how we're planning to conquer the back end of the first quarter, and maybe a couple months afterwards. So that's the goal, to try to analyze what are we doing in our own personal time and how we're going to implement changes, as well as even some of the upcoming ideas that we're going to drop for you guys during the Financial Griot episode. So this is the point of this conversation. My name is Lawrence Delva Gonzalez, and cut you off, didn't I? Cut you off. You felt like she was going to get in there, and it just got cut off.
You know what?
Hey, my name is Lawrence Delva Gonzalez. I am known as the neighborhood finance guy, and I'm just one of the 3 hosts of the Financial Griot. So thanks again for joining us, and I'll allow everybody else to say their piece. I'll go with Atlanta on my left first, because you guys can't see us. Cool.
Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Atlanta, 2 out of 3 of the TFG crew, and welcome once again. We are here. How are you, lovely?
Amazing.
I feel like it completely kind of. So how am I not doing that? How is me, Atlanta?
Because I asked you, and you just been ignoring me and cutting me off.
Okay, cool. All right, lovely. Let's go.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. You know, when that old, like the Southern lady, when the guests come to the house and they were arguing, and then somebody has to do the buffer. Hi, everyone. But no, for real. Hey, everyone. This is lovely Materialism. I'm so happy to be here. Just to record with Atlanta and Lawrence. It's always a pleasure.
Once again, how is everyone doing, including you, Lawrence? How are you?
Dope. Always dope. Always dope. Always living my life, the best of it, and securing the bag, whatever bag that's available.
Did you go out yesterday?
Did I go out? I never go out. That's not how it rolls. I don't go out.
Okay, LG, when I say out, like actually outside your home, you can take a walk, you can do
okay, yeah.
He always sings. He just run with it, right?
You know what he thought? Brunch. That's when he heard.
That's what he thought.
I said no. I didn't even think about that at all. I thought, hey, I don't go anywhere.
It's okay, Lawrence. We know you were deeply. Even if you didn't think about it. When
the guy is married, and this is for the guys that aren't married just yet, just that you have conjugal visits outside. You have a certain amount of feet you could get outside. Maybe you could get away for maybe 30 minutes. After that, you start, there's questions and there's judgment. So therefore, I toss out the trash. I go to the mailbox, and I go right back to the crib. That's just the way I live. I appreciate and I love it.
Are you alluding marriage is like prison?
I did not say that. I'm saying you have enough space so you can walk in and walk out again. Get your fresh air.
Where is the?
Get outside. Get outside. I go to grocery store sometimes to pick up some groceries and go right back to the crib.
When is the cherry blossom? Is it a little bit warmer in DC right now?
It's not a little bit warmer, but the cherry blossom peaks at the end of this month, which is from March 20th to like March 25th. So about like 2 weeks is when it's supposed to peak, but you probably be able to go see a lot of the ones in full bloom in about a week from now. So probably next Sunday.
Okay. Sadly, I was supposed to do my DC trip. I was actually going to come see you all too, hang out. But I have a 5-year-old party that I have to attend in Florida with Mr. CJ. He's turning 5. I'm excited. It's a circus theme. And so I've been helping my friend plan it out as much as I can, whatever I can help out with. And I want to tell you all, like we've been talking, these prices for these things is ridiculous. So he's not having a birthday anytime soon after this one. It is just so crazy. Like clowns? No, like to get the clowns, to get like the makeshift people. Those are just, yeah.
Kids still like clowns?
Well, no, we're not. I don't even think it's even the clown. I think we're gonna do like the magic show for
Oh,
them.
okay.
And then there's like the balloon lady that literally can make the bubbles, and she can actually put them in the bubbles. So cute things like that. And because of post-COVID, I'm like,
The price of, yeah, they're making up for it. Like, yo, we're high demand.
they are though. They really are. Like, because I think because so many people didn't have things for their children, a lot of people are doing parties. They are booked. Like, we've been calling, oh no, I'm not available that day, or we'll get back to you. And then they get back to us and it's like, oh yeah, we only have one slot left. And it's like, people are booking like crazy.
So my esthetician, I go to her, I do the dermaplaning, like different facials, right? So
Mm-hmm.
before COVID, um, it they had their policy at the place, whatever. So she wasn't booked as much. But now I'm looking online, or I thank God she gave me her cell number. She's booked up until damn near May, until
Yep.
the Labor Day. So I had to catch her in between before that last. Like, sometimes people are dropping off, so I could get a last session or something. But people are booked up, and I'm just like, oh. And I feel like I have to tip more or something like that. Like, I appreciate you. Don't go anywhere. But yeah, people are definitely booking up,
And
like
cost is
coming
up for
out spending.
everything. I feel like
Yeah.
it's costing more to breathe. You breathe and it's 5%. Like, I'm like, what is going on?
That's that inflation. Let's get it. Let's get it. So this conversation about, hey, what have you guys have been up to? I know we always give Alana a hard time because we haven't seen any episodes drop on her YouTube. And that's a question. That's a good question. Like, what's up? We're gonna start off there. Like, what's going on with your episode? Are you even doing this anymore? Have you given up on yourself? Are you just Team Bruno now? Like, what's going on?
I gotta fix my audio. Can you guys hear me? Let me just
Oh,
keep
we
it up.
here.
I sound low.
All right, go ahead.
So what's going on with my YouTube? It is there. It is there. Let's just say that. Funny enough, I've been thinking about how I would like to revamp it, because I do want to discuss things outside of personal finance, things I'm just interested in general. But I'm getting a lot of comments, like even after almost 2 years later, about the 401k loan. Like, people are just like leaving comments and stuff. People going back and forth with me. Pretty funny, but people going back and forth with me. And I'm like, well, thanks for watching. Whatever. Like, your comment doesn't affect my life. If anything, you're just adding to the data analytics of my YouTube channel. But yeah, I've been just thinking about how I would like to revamp it and what to do. But like I mentioned, you guys in the group chat, is just losing motivation, inspiration of just wanting to do it. And I know Lovely pushed me all the time about sometimes you can't want to do it, sometimes you just have to do it, in terms of just getting over that hump, it just starting, right? But yeah, that's really where I'm at. And then just all in together of just like work, commuting, stuff that's going on in work, stuff that's going on with my home, personal things. It's just a lot to juggle. I'm not home remote anymore, to where I can kind of like compartmentalize all these things. Now I'm out with people, where I have to be amongst other people, and I'm slightly an empath, so I'm taking all this stuff and internalizing a bit, right? So it's some things, but I'm not making an excuse for it. It is there. I'm coming, but I'm just waiting on my time to come. That's all it is. And honestly, I just don't think people care as much. So it's like, it's there. you know, it's there.
Yeah, she
Well,
don't. You do you not hear her? She's defeated. She's psychologically defeated, in my opinion. Just saying.
It's not the YouTube in general.
What,
Just
it's like the energy, but it's your energy completely. It's not just the YouTube. It's your overall, even your energy. Even saying everything you just said, you could feel that the energy was just dropping. At least that's how I felt about it.
I had a long night, to be honest with you. I had a long day, a long night, eating not too far, not much of a sleep.
Oh, dating out here. Okay, the streets. All right, cool. For the streets. Okay, lovely.
You make me sound horrible. I can't with you.
Did you enjoy your night, Alana?
Yeah, you see how she did not like, because a person that knows that is untrue, they're completely invalidated. But the fact that she didn't say anything, that means it was completely kind of true. That's a subtle nod, guys. Just remember, if you're dealing with women, if they don't tell you everything, if you kind of pose that question and they don't respond, with the oh no negative, nah, that means it's definitely true. So she out here dating in these streets. Okay.
Well, how was your night, Alana?
My night was great. I just had a long night. That's all.
Okay.
My night was great. I actually went outside, like out my door. I didn't go to the trash can, Lawrence. I just went outside. Enjoyed the West Palm Beach views. That's what I did. Can you guys hear me? I do feel like I'm low.
The gentrified views. So what's up about you? Low. Lovely. How about yourself? How's everything going as far as in the business end, your life? How are you synergizing this first quarter?
Well, the first quarter equaled making some big, tougher decisions. I think I spoke to you all about it. Like changing our customer segments was really important. Our demographic. How do I explain this? So essentially, in a quick way, we used to really try to focus on helping early stage startups, but I did a poor job of, which again, I would have told any of my clients this, which is literally writing out the customer segment, because there are startups. And then there are startups that are funded, and there are people that have ideas. So there's like so much, when you say early beginning stage of business, there's differences. For example, there's a client that we're working with. She has a business that is less than 6 months old, but she's on track to hire about 10 people. And you're about like, how did she just start a business 6 months ago? How is that possible? Well, again, there's different types of startups. It depends on your network. It depends on the capital and investments that you have. And so we realized, like, I don't want to work with someone that's in ideation completely. I want to work with somebody that has skin in the game. They have a lot of expertise in their background. So maybe they've been a consultant at a Big Four company and now they're trying to go on their own. That person's completely different than the person that's like, oh, I have this idea and maybe da-da-da-da-da-da. So because of that, I think there's something to be said about working with the right customer segment. And so we kind of had to pivot from there. But then I think that's where you all heard us coming in real hot and real cold in the beginning, which is what I'm talking about, finding relationships on LinkedIn. The difference between Instagram and LinkedIn, and I'll just give you guys a synopsis of this. People that own big businesses are on Instagram. Like, think about Gary Vee. You think about the big people, they're there. But a lot of times, especially the way Instagram is now, so about a couple of years ago, I would have said a different thing. But for now, Instagram kind of became an aesthetic app. You kind of show your lifestyle. You can share quality information and it will get reshared. Not to say that it's not a valuable place to share as a person that owns a business, but I feel like if you're in B2B, which means business to business, that you might want to slow down a little bit on Instagram and focus and double down on LinkedIn. Whereas if you're in B2C, which is business to consumer, where you're selling a product, I'm giving you a complete different other playbook, because Instagram, TikTok, and those things become highly places where you're going to be able to sell. Let's say if you sell a clothes or you sell, even if you sell a camera, those things you want to be on Instagram and TikTok, and of course, doing your SEOs for. Whereas if you're doing business to business, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you can literally filter Boston CEO owns this size of company. This is how recently they started, and it will populate a list. I can't do that on Instagram. Like, if you're super clear on who your customer segment is, LinkedIn Sales Navigator becomes a game changer for you, because now you're directly targeting and communicating with people that you want to know about what you do. That's not possible on Facebook and Instagram in that way. Doesn't mean that it's not a viable place, but if you're getting started, or you know that you want to clear a good size of business in a year, and you told me, Lovely, which one should I focus on first? I'm telling you LinkedIn 1,000 times over. And I'm telling you, you can start doing things on TikTok, because then you can start building up your visibility. But by far, LinkedIn, that's just where it is. And so because of all those changes, I'm adapting, making changes to what we do. Getting our CRM. So a lot of changes, because I want to go deeper rather be in the shallow waters that I was in. So I feel like I was in shallow waters, like playing around, like thinking, okay, this type of group, no, I need to go deeper. My skill set, my experience, I can handle deeper, but I wasn't going deeper. So now I'm going deeper with the people that are a lot further. They're not giving me flack about our prices. They're engaged. So they're not necessarily trying to haggle me. They're really trying to figure out, are you a good fit for me? But it's not about a price. Like I've already have a couple of sales meetings that I did last week. No one haggled me about our prices. It was more so, what's the framework? How can I apply it to where I'm in business? And I'm not tooting my own horn here. I'm really good at calls. It's like, really, when I get on a call with a client, bar none, I'm really, really good. I used to train people to do this, right? So for me, it's like, okay, this is my wheelhouse. I was just talking to the wrong people. And I've been saying this for the last 8 years. Right person, right message, right time. We had the right message. We were hitting it as frequently as we can, but it wasn't the right audience. And that's what we were messing up. So a lot of investment to find out that's just not going to work. And so sometimes you have to let go of your ego. That way you are doing business is not going to work. If you do it that way, the business is going to fail. So we're pivoting. It's going to take time because you don't just wake up on a platform. But for context, we were on Instagram doing like our 1159 page, and it probably has like 40 people. And we were doing that all year, like for 40 people, just kind of like quote unquote passively because I wasn't posting on it. Today, we started doing the things for LinkedIn for 1159. 2.5 weeks ago, we're at 108 people. 2.5 weeks, 12 months. 2.5 weeks, 12 months. I might not be, well, my mentor used to tell me that I should have majored in math because all my math scores are really high. She said my college professor thought I should do that. And I'm like, no, I just know that I'm good at it, but I don't necessarily want to. But nonetheless, essentially, long-winded way, I know I told y'all a lot because I'm like, is this a business class? What is she talking about? Well, you're going to learn today. I would also recommend, if you are in your career path, that you should be doubling down on LinkedIn. Why? Because people now with personal brands, and I've said that to Lawrence in Atlanta, you can leverage that to get a higher salary because you're now putting a stake in the ground that you have some expertise and authority of your domain. Those people that are like really passive and like, well, I just go to work and I don't really care, you're going to be out of a job in 5-10 years. I'm going to say that very clearly because the market is becoming very competitive. You need to be either really damn good at what you do or being pretty good at what you do and have a platform that you own. I'm predicting a lot of companies, especially the companies big tech. Like there's this one girl that's literally, she's a customer success manager. And it's not like a customer support job. It's really like a high level position where you talk to businesses. She literally transformed her career. Like they created a whole new job title for her because of her presence on LinkedIn. Now they created a whole blog series around her expertise on the company's website. And now she's bringing in other people now it's becoming a recruiting tool. It's becoming a connection tool for customers. People are like, I love, this is my wheelhouse. So I love this stuff. Like you can tell I'm excited about it, but it's just like to understand how the wheelhouse is being played. I'm just like, if you don't understand how it's being played, I don't know what to tell you. You could go to sleep, Lawrence, bye. But I'm telling you, I love this stuff and how all of it is connected. But I'm saying all this to say, like, you have to be willing to pivot. And so that's what my Q1 ended up being, a lot of pivoting. So my advice, if you want to get into high level positions, you want to grow your business, whatever the path, I suggest that you do enhance your platform online. And that's my long way of saying, yeah, Q1 has been a lot of changes.
I love your passion about it though. Lawrence with these like head nod snapping thing, whatever. I love.
Yeah, I'm telling you, he's hater.
What? It's not even a hater. Yeah, you guys don't understand show notes. This is the show notes in the background. Nobody sees me doing it. I'm just telling you to wrap it up. Like I'm just giving you like clues.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah, you be reading the heck out of stuff. It's like, oh, my mic is low. Like,
no, my like it's like half. I'm half asleep. I'm half up, and I'm just trying.
Hey,
to, like,
you always do that though. You read it. You're like, this is written here. Let me read this.
You know what?
These are notes. These are notes. These are notes.
Gotcha.
So ultimately, for myself, I'm gonna keep my first quarter kind of brief. I always tell my friends that I don't personally think I'm excelling to my level, my own personal level. I think when we look at other people, a lot of people typically say, well, I did this, so therefore I'm doing more than the next guy. And that's how they judge themselves and they judge their lives. But on average, people are doing fairly minimal work. They're not excelling. They're not doing the best that they can. They're just generally falling slowly to sleep, and they're cultivating more time watching other people succeed versus actually doing anything to succeed themselves. So that's always been my mantra. That I'm like, I look at myself and I think, there's a lot of things I haven't been able to convert. I wasn't able to, deliver as much blog posts that I personally wanted to deliver. There's still a lot of blog posts on the back burner that I thought was going to be very interesting, and I actually didn't do it. Like, I had an entire blog post about the time I was actually on a slave auction block, and I was supposed to drop in February. You see how interesting that idea is? Like, because I was actually on a slave auction block before. And it is a whole story behind it, and I felt like I didn't deliver it in the time that I could have. At least for me, I just wanted to, when an ideal shoots in my mind, I just want to drop it. And on top of that, I think there's a lot of other things that I need to strategically plan out in the right way, especially once it comes to winter. When winter kind of hits, it slows you down to a point where you kind of want to hibernate because it's super cold. The room that I'm currently in, as far as where I work from, is the cold room. We really need to do something about the insulation in this room, and it's not really conducive for me to really want to work and perform. And the time that we were basically stuck on this perpetual work from home. So it's kind of like I'm sitting in front of the computer, I'm doing work, and then after work, I'm supposed to sit in front of the same computer and do more progressive stuff. That's a little bit trying on me, but I need to get past that hump, because I personally think that a lot of the content that I have coming down the pipe will be very beneficial for a lot of people. On the good side, I was able to, I guess the more and more I speak, either it be through, maybe sometimes we have this thing on Clubhouse on Sunday nights, this lady does this room and we talk about financial literacy, and that's what we do. And sometimes other people hit me up, and I've been getting opportunities to do workshops with different groups. And the better I perform in those groups, I'm able to kind of sell myself and what I can do to help other people kind of achieve their own level of financial freedom or better money management or even investing. So therefore they start hitting me up, and then next thing you know, I'm converting, basically what do you call converting a sale? The idea is this: I want more people to get into changing their lifestyle so they're not living paycheck to paycheck. And I'm presenting those opportunities to them, and they're finally listening, and they're like saying, you know what, I haven't been doing all this stuff anyways. What's the worst that can happen if I take this course or if I have this conversation? So I've been finding some level of success with that, but I want to synergize it more with what I'm doing. So with that said, I'll kind of run out a list of what I'm trying to do. Ooh, it's actually a nice little list too. You see this thing? It's the whole list. So in March, I'm probably going to come out with my miscellaneous stuff, either be my first 100 tax-free wealth. So discussing that as well. Government checklist. So I want to bring in a little bit more government employee financial literacy on my page. Bring in more of the show notes that we have, and even discussing what my ideas are when we're going to retire early, because me and my wife have been discussing that a lot more, and kind of getting ourselves back in the game so we could stay in the game for the next 13 years and retire quicker than others. On top of that, Financial Literacy Month is April. So I definitely want to add a few things on there, either being the money management, investing, and long-term planning and retirement. Going to be there. But my passion is actually doing more of the workshops. And we're actually running a whole promo to say, hey, if you get us some more likes, we'll actually do free workshops. So the lights ain't coming. All right, cool. Deuces in. But I think those workshops are very beneficial for the vast majority of people in America right now, especially as inflation hits, especially as gas prices go up. And you're noticing that, hey, all your extra effort is not gaining you a lot of money. So in May, as we're going to probably pivot, at least I'm going to pivot on the neighborhood finance guy with more cultural appropriate or heritage-based information. So this is where I'm going to drop the slave auction block information. I'm going to drop the 7 ways that Haitian Americans are becoming wealthier in America from 7 different perspectives. I'm gonna also bring in some top Haitian businesses, as well as financial, how do you manage your finances while everything else is going bad? So there's a lot to do on my plate. I need to stay engaged. I need to get physically active. I need to get outside just to get some sunlight, mandatory time to get some sunlight. And that's just about it. I just think life is just in those moments that nothing is going on is because we all need to double down and become more strategic and really start, producing more content than we're just sitting around waiting for the best things to happen. I think that's a huge problem in the community. We talked about the Nielsen ratings where, Blacks are basically the top consumers of media. Like that's what we are. That's how they see us. They say our spending power is, netted around like 1.6 trillion in 2021. It's actually going to be slated to go up to 1.8 trillion by 2024. And majority of that money is circulating outside the community. Black home ownership has completely gone down, or it stays steady for a very long time, for the last 40 years. 40 years prior to that statement in 2000s, but then now it's actually started dipping towards the 30%. So that's also a problem. There's people investing, and we're getting a lot of young people coming into the investing space, but we're coming into the scammer spaces. So we want the quick fixes, the Bitcoins, the Shiba Inus, the whatever stock that you heard from somebody else. And now there are all those stocks themselves that people got into when in 2020 and 2021 are either performing, terribly, either down 40%, 51%, or completely, caved down, the opposite direction. So there is the whole conversation to be had about how we structure ourselves in order for us to become the successes in 2025. So that's where I land right now with this entire spiel.
Something that I want to caveat to something that you said about like the whole investment thing. I think there needs to be like, how do I say this? Foundational things that need to be taken care of. Where we are skipping, which I know on Financial Griot, we're planning on doing that. We're skipping out fundamentally on, okay, first thing, budgeting, right? Like knowing we don't even start there. I think you start at your net worth. You need to know where your liabilities are. You need to know where your assets are. You need to understand where that number is. Then you need to understand your income versus what you're spending. So there's like a list of things. And I think what's happening is that people are going from part 1 to part 99. So you have like people like, hey, so-and-so said, to invest in Bitcoin. I'm bullish on it. I think that digital currency is going to be a big deal. How much of a big deal, when it's going to be a big deal, all those other factors, that becomes a risky investment. That's not a more stable. All investments have their risk, but that's a high risk investment. So if you skip like 98, right? Like the first 98 and you're 99, the 99 is going to always take you out because you don't have the foundation of step 1 to 98. And I think that's where the conversation becomes of, I don't even have a problem that you're consuming. I have a problem that you're not getting the credits and having essentially being part of the ecosystem that creates the consuming. So you're not necessarily part of any of the companies or the platforms that have existed. We're not getting like, how we talk about show page notes. Like if you start looking at the people that are the producing executive producers, and you compare like how many percentage of those people are people of color, you're going to see the numbers go, but then the people that are intaking it that actually makes this machine run to generate revenue for those people, it's high. So it's not that media becomes only the problem. It's the fact that you're not creators of media in a way that is actually going to be able to be monetizable. So those are like the inverses of everything, where we are always trying to do 99. Like I want to be known, I want to be known, I want to be known. And not realizing there are people that have quote unquote less following, less footprint online, but they're making so much more because they're behind the scenes in the producer seat. They're behind the scenes in executive whatever seat, or they're on the actual the set creating the costumes. Like there's so much other things that come into this creation, because if you really, really love what you do, there's a passion that comes with you where you want to be part of it. We're passively doing things. And one of the other things that I will be like, I've had the healthcare background, right? And I have a lot of friends that I know that have a healthcare background. One of the things that we're doubling down on, I will have a healthcare agency. What was the point of that? I just haphazardly did those things? No, I want to be strategic because I know Guess what's not going away? Is healthcare going away anytime soon? Nope, not at all. So I have a friend that's also, she's a nurse and she wants to get the highest degree in nursing. Why not be, even if it's a silent partner in creating and populating agency? Because I know someone that has no healthcare background at all, but they were able to build this thing out because of, again, belief in themselves and willingness to do the work. And it's a business that literally viably does not fail if you just know, if you know how to treat people right and you know how to get clients in terms of having bookings. So those are the things that I'm thinking about, not just thinking about investments that make me feel good, but investments that have validity in the marketplace. So it's like, you have to think on multiple levels, right? For things to work. I think that a lot of people just jump to 99, and that's where it becomes problematic. That's just my 2 cents on it.
But they all coincide with each other, because Lawrence made a good point about the Nelson report, if I'm not mistaken, LG, the Nelson report, where Black people are constantly, the Black community are constantly, looking into media. What feeds media is sensational clicks and clickbaits, curating lifestyles, fast cash, rich cash, scammy cash. So people feed into this and this influence of this, where people do not want to learn. That's essentially what it is. And we alluded to this many times in just different ways. We just stop learning, right? Even with me, where I have noticed, like, I don't know if no one brings something to my attention, I don't know it's actually there. I'm spending less time online and more time just reading, because I want to read about other people's lives, right? But what I'm noticing is that they're playing, each thing is playing a vital role of where we are disconnecting to knowledge, because we just want to skip to the foundational the foundational priorities, and just jump into, how can I be a CEO, how can I be a boss, or girl boss hashtag, right? So there's so many like elements to this, and what I am noticing too is that when people do reach out to me and we're having conversations, they want to skip into how things have worked out for me, but more along of just not the bad the bad decision making or anything, just like, how can I forget this and just jump into 99 or 0.2 to get to the point of success and get to a point of making it. But there's a thing is, it's like, if someone just give you all this money and someone give you, all these things, can you even identify what's success to you, right? Because you're going to want more and more and more and more, not even realize, what you actually have in front of you. But they're all playing this vital role into like what we're seeing now. And I think it's going to get even worse. We're spending more time online, less time reading, less time trying to build on our skills, and it's going to be a detriment to us all. So it's just one of those things where we can only hope, but as individuals, we can only just push forward and continue to share, right, to others. Because I really think people are having these conversations. I think within those groups, it's that social pressure of making it seems and appear that your life is all together, and most times it's not.
I think there's something to be said about, like, even if it's like, I think appearances have always existed, like that false appearance thing that we were talking about. I just think that it's so much magnified online, where it used to be like, people used to go to church with the big hats, and it's like, I used to be like, all the big hats is covering all them secrets you got under there. Okay, so
all the secrets, like fake hair out here in these streets. Like, that's
like
cool.
all the
it's a lot that goes on that hat. You have no idea.
A lot going on behind that hat. And so I think it's always existed. I think now that we're online, it just kind of like magnifies it. Here's where I'm like, this is a question for all of you both. Do you feel as if that what you're doing, like, for example, I know Lawrence is constantly doing the blogs, we're podcasting, we're doing these things. And a lot of it, we're like, you know what? The people right now that are listening to it may not necessarily be the people that it benefits the most. Maybe our grandchildren will listen to it one day and be like, oh yeah, these old folks, look at them. They used to look young. Look at them. And, taking all this advice, but do we believe that essentially that what we're doing matters in the grand scheme of things for everyday people today? I know a lot of times, like for me, it's like, okay, legacy coming up, but do you think that there's maybe one or two people that maybe listen to this, maybe if it's not this year or next year, that their lives are going to truly be impacted by it? Or are we just, throwing this up in the air and just hopefully wishing somebody it clicks for someone?
Are you talking about just personal brand or just ourselves?
Yeah, like all the things that we do, encompassing everything that we're doing, meaning not only Financial Griot, but even the personal brand, all the stuff that we do that's outwardly facing, because we can all, let's say, stop posting tomorrow and take other paths that are very like not, people don't know about it. Do we think that what we're doing actually is in some level going to impact the community?
I think it does. And then I think it has in every iteration. Like, no matter if somebody kind of followed me 100%, but even I almost give anybody no excuse not to be wealthy. Like, for the last 12 years, I've proven to whoever that was even in my circle that, hey, I didn't have a lot of money. And I was talking about financial literacy at that point. And if they actually was on the same trajectory as I am, they'd be pretty much either, they probably was ahead of me for whatever reason, because I only was making 23K before taxes. They'd probably be millionaires by now if they even followed half the stuff that I've said. So everything that I do is on the subconscious levels, trying to shift the person away from the idea of consumerism, the idea of buying into happiness and not really finding out. So even what I post, the content I post, why I posted this, as far as motivations, inner thoughts, things that I'm trying to like push onto the society at large, does change the person. And at some point, somebody's like, come around, and they tell me an idea that I subtly already suggested to them years ago, but they have no idea that that's what I've been doing the entire time. And that's the point of leadership. In the Marine Corps, at least in the point that I was in the NCO courses and the leadership courses that I had to take, these are the subtle nods and changes that you do to your entire group without them knowing, by the virtue of who you are and how you hold true to who you are. Because people are going to be looking like 5 years from now, well, 2 years from now, they're gonna be like, is Atlanta still doing her video? Because for them, if she's not doing it, it's like, haha, I told you it's not sustainable. I told you I told you it doesn't work out. Oh, does she still have a house? Oh, I told you it's a bad idea to buy a house. Like, and it's part of this game that we have to play, especially with poor people, to change their mindset about how they interpret life. And that's the easiest way I could tell it. A lot of Black people I know are poor. They don't know it. A lot of people act like they're middle class, but middle class is a range from like $40,000 to 240. That's not even a range. That's not a thing. That's not a middle class. That means like some people are poor and they're just pretending to be something that they're not. And some people are like pseudo, rich, and they're pretending to be something that they're not. Ultimately, I think everything that I do is for the greater good of somebody, one or two people. And even if it's not 100 people that change, even if it's 2 people, if it's just 10, it matters. And down the line, somebody will grab it and somebody will say, oh, this is a Black couple that is rich because they've never seen it. Or this is a Black couple that they're Haitian American and they're millionaires. I've never seen that as well. So there's all these things that are subtle hints that changes the person, changes their perspective, and really start saying, okay, like when I finally become a millionaire, I'm gonna post in front of that Nissan Versa 2009 as if it's like the brand new Mercedes Rolls Royce, just to show people like the comical aspect. Like, you don't have to be this millionaire blowing your money on things. You could be a millionaire of purpose. You could actually create more in the world. You can add more value. When I retire, it's not for me to just kind of kick back and relax. My retirement is going to be me learning different things. I want to go to culinary school. I want to go probably do a little bit more certified financial planning stuff. Might even touch a little bit on the accounting stuff again. Get into some nursing if I have to, because I want to learn a little bit more about that. I want to provide more services to other people. I want to volunteer at the Habitat for Humanity. You're not going to see me at an all-white party on the yacht. That's just not me. That's not my thing. I want to show people that you could live a life of actual meaning and distinction, of actual changes, where you could even say, hey, I heard somebody had a great idea. I'm like, hey, here's a capital influx of 100K. I want to see you bring this coffee shop down the street to fruition. I want to see that. And I also know a young lady that did work with Starbucks that could help you do the interior decor of the place as well. Let's go. I want to create a space where people have opportunity. And that's how I want to live. I want to show people it's possible.
So Lawrence, does that mean that you're not coming to my 35th birthday? Like it's going to be on a yacht. Everybody's going to be required to wear.
Oh no, I ain't coming to that. I'll be like, I'll find a way.
Now he got to stand in it.
Yeah,
so
you see what I mean?
Like, but just not to.
Yeah, I can't be in the photos.
He can't be in the photo. He got to live up to this now.
I got the glasses on and like, and somebody try to tag me, non-tag. Like,
that's funny. That's hilarious.
Dang,
I'm already gonna sue people to try to tag me. He's like, don't tag me in this thing. Not part of my brand.
Man, I gotta note the invitation to Lawrence. No pictures will be taken for you.
Yeah, I just can't be part of that. I don't think it's very much it's conducive to a great society to show lifestyles while everybody else is basically struggling, especially people that look like us. I think we need to get to a point where, yeah, you could live your life as you feel like you should live your life, but you should also remember and have empathy enough to know that there's a lot of other Black people that are struggling on a day-to-day basis. Not just they can't get food, they can't get medicine, they can't get whatever, and everything that you do is about stunting on the gram, stunting on the people, stunting on TikTok, stunting on whatever. And I'm very much against that, and I stand firmly against that.
Living your truth.
So,
it got real quiet.
We're not sending law the invitation. All right.
I don't negotiate with terrorists.
And if you have no idea what we're talking about, you need to go back and listen to the recent episodes.
It's basically, I don't know. I think it's something to say about guys that really have character, purpose, and they stand in where they're supposed to be. They don't budge from that line. There's a time where it was black and white, right? And somebody's like, no, you have to look at the gray area, Lawrence. You got to know the gray. And now everybody live into some murky gray that we've never even understand. And that's why we're falling apart as a society, as a community, and as different families, and even people, because there exists nothing but the gray, and there's no defining lines anymore. Men were supposed to stand on principle. They're supposed to stand on virtue. They're supposed to stand on, like, definitive lines, even if it's not necessarily popular, to have what is known in the Marine Corps as moral courage. That means if you see somebody else doing bad, even if it's your best friend, if you're your dad or whatever, if you have moral courage enough, you could stand against a group, even at the cost of death. Like, you just stand as a man. And I don't think we have that anymore in principle for a lot of men in society. A lot of people just do whatever they want. And the guys or young men are looking around like, I don't have any rules anymore. I don't have any understanding anymore. So there's nothing there. So if somebody runs into me, they run into a person of purpose, of virtue, and of defining lines. I don't bend. I don't fold. I don't fold like origami for these people. That's just not me. There's a kid I posted about. I forget what. I'm trying to remember what I posted. I posted about I guess Kev on stage. He did a skit about the entire Africans or Africans or other Black people that were in Ukraine for studying as either working on work visas or being students, having a lot of issues getting on trains and really trying to find a support while everything is going on in Ukraine. So he made a joke about it. I posted, it's fine, because it's something to really understand that, hey, Blackness in America, in the world, seems to be always unheard of or unnoticed. And one kid, and I know he's younger than me, so he responded to my message, through like a DM, and he's like, "Oh yeah, they don't know nothing about us. They don't know this. They don't know that." And he went on for a bit, and I asked him like, "Hey, guess what? Do you know what the plights of the Vietnamese Americans in the U.S.? See, you don't know." So the fact that I understand, I can joke about the situation, but in my maturity, in my experience, I can also say that Black people don't know what goes on with other subgroups as well. So it's not just about the white people don't know what, Black history is that we don't know other people's history at all. So we all have to challenge ourselves, not just to be fake morally right, but in order for us to really say that we stand on knowledge, we also have to say, hey, maybe there's some things that we don't know about others. And maybe that's also true. And that's the true joke. To me, that's the joke that I got, not the joke that he said, but the joke is that we all don't know each other as much as we pretend to. And the kid, he's like, in those moments, that's when it impacts you, because it's like, oh, this guy didn't fall into where I am. And he's challenged me to think that, hey, hey, maybe I don't know other people as much as I think I do. I'm a savage in these streets. The DM streets. You can't just come at me. Or that one girl, the one lady tried to come at me with some student loan thing or something. I was like, man, I came out there with some savagery. My comment section, it was too easy for me. I'm like, you don't have the range. You literally don't have the range to come at me with some financial literacy and student loan stuff. You don't have the range.
You talking about the possible either extension or the loan forgiveness in general?
That episode was about Biden's State of the Union address recently that posted, and the fact that he didn't speak to any of the student loan forgiveness that he did promise, that he pivoted on in his own when he was running. First, he didn't have any like metrics on it. He didn't want to do it at all. But as he was losing a lot of like attention and so on and so forth, he basically took a lot of the talking points from Elizabeth Warren at the time, and he basically promised that he's going to forgive, some 50 grand, but some people up to $10,000. He's like, I promised $10,000. Like he doubled down. Somebody's like, are you sure? I doubled down. So he doubled down, and people really got on the bandwagon for him. They voted, and then in truth, he's like a true politician. He didn't deliver on those promises, and there's a reason why he can't. Because I could talk about it forever and this reason, and I can understand why, but a lot of people don't. And I think she wanted to come in and say, well, he didn't promise this, he didn't promise that. I'm like, you don't have the range. You don't even have the memory. I could just show you every instance, like news reports, as well as YouTube videos in this day and age where he made those statements himself, and he could not come in with those promises. He could, instead of standing on principle as a man, as a real person in this day and age, and say, well, I can't do this. I'm able to understand that, but the general audience, they want blood. So that's why you don't hear him say, hey, he can't deliver on this promise anymore. I mean, but she couldn't understand that.
How they kind of justify is forgiving the loans for people who were in those predatory schools like ITT Tech and some more schools. They forgive those loans. but
those things
that's not what he said. That's
no. But those what things you're saying, yeah. But that's how they kind of alluded to, like, well, we actually did this.
But those things themselves were in play way before then as well, because this entire situation by student loans actually started under the first administration in which he was a part of, where Obama actually cleared the government for take on the Sallie Mae and I forget the other name. Basically, we took Fannie Mac and Sallie Mae or something like that. We took on student loans, and that ended up actually exacerbating how college costs came about. So once the government says, I'm going to take on student loans and I'm going to make it less risky or whatever it is, I'm just going to open up the floodgates, all the schools interpret it as, oh, okay, it's all good. And then we could actually ramp up what we're giving to people, and therefore they spread in the prices, and more Black people predominantly took on a lot of student loans. Not only Black people and Black kids, but there's a lot of Black grandparents that also took on student loan pluses. The Parent Plus loans, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of Black boomers retiring with those Parent Plus loans where their kids are out there in a brunch situation, just to let y'all know. So I said what I said.
How you got that from brunch?
I had to turn it around. I had to like bring it in.
But we said all of that, and you just went right back to brunch.
Yeah. So ultimately, I basically was trying to allude to that lady when she was kind of going after me with this information. I'm like, did you ever even read this stuff? Because I do a lot of research in this field for the last 8 years to figure out all the different nuances. And in truth, a lot of Black people, and there's data to support it, typically default on their loans. Black people typically carry the loans longer than other non-Black people throughout their lifetime. So that could take, if somebody takes 4 years, it could take us 10. If somebody takes 10 years, it could take us 20. And a lot of people default on their student loans as well over time, either be by year 12 and so on and so forth, because they just can't pay it anymore. And on top of that, even though, for example, the average student loan borrowing rate is around like, it's $33,000 or 34 or 35 nowadays, whatever that amount is on average for Black people, that amount is likely more closer to 60K. because we take on, the additional master's programs, whatever program, that's going to skew it completely. And even a perfect example of that was when the guy forgive a lot of Morehouse, that Morehouse graduating class, he forgave a certain amount. And I actually did the calculation, and on average, that class, each person received $100,000 with a student loan forgiveness. If you did the average, that means we were carrying all by ourselves about 100K. Why do I know? Because I carried a good 90. I know a couple buddies that have 175. Yeah. So there's a lot of people carrying more student loans than we think, because we don't talk about it, we don't share it, we don't actually communicate it. Doesn't mean that it's not true. And that is the biggest problem that we're not facing. And that's why I said, if people don't have the reins, they just can't have this conversation with me. I don't know how we turned this conversation, and Lovely got real quiet with
the student loans.
Because it's true. What you gonna say when it's true? Like, it's just, well.
I told her, like, I asked her, like, so what's your data point? Like, what's your data? What's your reports? Because I got them. Unless you want to have this conversation, let's go. And she got real quiet. I'm like, at least apologize.
But apologize. She was going against what you were saying?
She was just going against what I was saying. I'm like, at least apologize. But that's part of the problem with society today. You can't even apologize. You can't even just say, well, oh yeah, I'm wrong. Nobody says that anymore. You can't retract the statement. Oh, I didn't know. Thanks for, give me that nuance. I'm able to still do that. Like, somebody, show me something I was completely wrong about, I will take it. I welcome it. But other people, because of society, the way we have it, the way we structure ourselves, the way we get into social media back and forth and no real resolution, nobody actually says, well, I might have been off about that. My bad. Or, oh, well, I didn't know this piece, and thanks for letting me know. Like, this is why people had entire conversations about the vaccine. Whereas I'm like, how are you going to talk to the scientists about vaccines where you haven't taken science since like the 8th grade? What's going on? What's good?
That's our problem.
What is legal?
That's a problem.
Like, the last time you took science classes was about 20 years ago, and you have questions about somebody that's doing microbiology, detailed. like the last science you took was general science, right? General biology in the game. You barely passed with a C-, and you have big talks about the vaccine. It makes no sense. Yeah.
You know what I'm laughing about? I remember this one lady that, she was really, really arguing really hard about it. And then the question I had to ask was like, have you ever taken a vaccine? Well, yeah, but this one just came. Have you ever taken a vaccine? And that's what I'm talking. Because you can't, it's like all these things, like, we have to understand that we're benefiting from a society that was mostly vaccinated. That is why we're not dying by those old plagues. Like, that's why we have a society right now, because those vaccines were there for a particular purpose. Now, you have every right to decide you're not going to, but you can't spread what you're spreading as complete truth if you are not the expert. People were spreading the information like they were did the research, they was in the lab doing this. And I'm like, you're spreading it like with such confidence. Like, when people were saying that, oh, do you know the vaccine is going to cause this? I'm like, to be honest with you, you probably don't know. The food that you're eating right now probably would cause you more damage than what they're about to inject in you. I'm just trying to let you know, the food what we have right now, the FDA is not doing the FDA job. They're just not doing the best job that they can in terms of the food. And that's like, actually, if you look at research, the Europeans do a lot better than us in terms of like how they handle our food processing. So there's so much other things that we could really be looking under the microscope, but I think it was something for people to look into. If you didn't want to take it, as a friend, I never pressured anyone to take it or say, hey, you need to take it. But what I wasn't going to do is literally have people propagate information that is incomplete. It's not complete information. And you need to be able to have the right to understand that you actually are not the expert in this, and you need to fall back.
That's the thing. Everybody want to be an expert. No one want to be the actual student and just listen and read and research and come to your own consistent critical thinking. I think that's gone out the window for a very long time is what I'm noticing, critical thinking. But to go back to how we're placing things on the internet and no one really coming together, like coming to a consensus of ideas or ideology, or maybe just adjusting or being flexible of what you're consuming, or open to different perspective. I'm seeing that more and more and more, where people just becoming so narrow minded into
Yeah.
their own ideology, their own ideas. A lot of times don't make no sense, right? But it just this microwave knowledge, quote unquote, if you want to say knowledge, this information per se, and we're just going with that. And not only we're going with that, we're going with that with full force, right? And I don't see stewardship anymore. I don't see people just open for different ideas, open for different discussions. It's just to come together collectively to see like what really makes sense for them, and applying something that they know they'll be able to benefit their lives or just benefit the discussion. But everybody want to be first. Everybody want to be an expert. Everyone just want to come to this like forefront and be leaders, but we're leading masses to just not in a way that will be benefit for us or our communities at all. So that's something
Yeah,
I'm just noticing more and more.
another thing that I also want to add is that leadership is not about knowing everything. Leadership is actually knowing when to divert to someone on the team. This is not my expertise. Like if we come to 11:59 today and you ask me for certain things, I'm gonna be like, I'm pretty sure that's not something that I actually know exactly what's going on it at a full post. My job is to divert it to say, okay, I need to either become well versed in this, or I'm pointing you to the right person on the team that can actually answer your question. Because as a leader, if I feel like I have to answer everything and I have to know everything, I'm operating in ego. There's no way possible. Like an understanding that sometimes even on my team, quote unquote, Lovely's the CEO, I play number 2, number 3. What do you need me to do to make it easier for what you do? That's true leadership. When you know you need to fall back, like, not on me, bro. Like I need to be supportive. I need to give you access to something, or I need to learn from you because there's something that you do well. And one of the traits that I realized about myself in working with a recent advisor, I love learning. I actually like love watching the behaviors and taking out like the meat that I need and throwing the bones that I don't. So I may not take everything from somebody, but like if I'm on this call with you all, I'm like, Lawrence understands this better than I do. Alana understands this better than I do. Let me lean into that. I'm really like, this is something that I'm just like, kudos to me. And I'm picking up on the things that I'm really strong in. I realized the moment that I spent less time watching what she was telling me about what to do, but more time watching her behaviors and seeing actually what she's really doing. Because sometimes you do something and you're trying to teach it, but it's like the way you're teaching it is not necessarily landing, but I'm really good at watching the behavior and saying, oh, that part is really good. And I'm picking up on it. And next time we meet, she's like, man, it seems like you know more about this than I do now. And I'm like, nah, it's because I've been watching you. And then on top of that, I'm having reps in the gym. I'm actually taking what you're teaching me, going on YouTube and adding layers because I didn't know that this existed. You exposed it to me and now I'm adding layers. So now that, because I want to be able to have a deeper conversation with you now, right? So if you tell me, like I remember years ago, Lawrence is always talking about these 401ks. I'm like, I know they exist. I know there's something about it. So guess what? I doubled down. I doubled down and figured out my job. I was like, oh, let me go do this. So this was probably like 2014 or 2015 or something, like he mentioned it. And I was like, oh, okay, I need to do this because I'm investing just not in through this methodology. So I added that as a layer to my own stuff because this is the type of person that I am. And I'm just realizing that if more of us would understand that when you don't know, it's an opportunity to learn. Like I am so good at saying like I'm really good at with like strategic thinking. I struggle with having to lay out the small steps to get to the big picture plan. So I'm always trying to bring in somebody that thinks more linear than me, that thinks immediately. I'm good with 5 years. I struggle sometimes in the day to day. So I'm bringing someone that can coincide with me and say, okay, we want to get this here in 36 months. Here's the day-to-day activities you need to do. And now because I've been doing that, now I can actually do a lot better with my day-to-day stuff because I'm learning. That you just have to be open to not knowing Or there's another thing that I think about is zero is data. Getting a zero on your assignment means you ain't know nothing. Getting zero clients means that's something that you're doing wrong. Having a zero savings account is something you're doing wrong. Like all of this is data for you to pivot and change. But I think like you all were saying, because we want to be know-it-alls or lead, quote unquote, in leadership, we don't realize that the greatest leaders know when to push back. They also know when to step back, and they also know when to hold the line. So it's like you have to be able to do those three different aspects so that you can become better at what you do.
Absolutely. That was a great point. You have to know, and I think Lawrence mentioned this more than once too, where some people just don't want to accept being number 2 or number 3 or number 4, taking those strong suits. And that's where we kind of fall as a collective or as a community. Like everybody wants to be number 1, and number 2, number 3, or even number 10 is just as good. We have to kind of learn like we can be, number 5 and number 6, and holding up the front, leading as well, and helping each other to do so. So that's one of the things that's really hurting us individually, collectively. Is something that we don't identify with sooner than later, then it's always going to be one of those things that not only destroy us internally as people, but also generational wise, it destroyed the community that we think we're trying to build, because it does the opposite effect. Lawrence, what are you researching over there? Lawrence is like being a nerd. He got his hoodie.
Oh yeah,
with the grays. I'm feeling the salt and pepper. I'm feeling the salt and pepper.
It's deep. It's deep in the game. It's pure wisdom. It's pure old age. I'm gonna die soon. So this is what it is. So I'm working hard.
Don't say all that.
Hey, I don't know if I'm going out or not. But still, I'm actually posting and researching. Like I said, I'm always about, even if I'm not working, I think that's how we started this conversation earlier, Lovely. If I'm not working on something and actually making it tangible or wrapping it up, what I'm doing is strategizing. I'm thinking up ideas. I'm being creative, or I'm like you ladies mentioned, I read now a lot more through Audible. So I'm listening to those tidbits. So anytime somebody sends me anything, I dive into it. Just like Lovely just stated, like I think people just don't do that. We read a headline and we never even read the article. Like that's the society we live in. They don't read the article. Then the people that even read the article, they don't know that some of the articles themselves are just merely opinion pieces. So they don't do that as well. So then there's this other level in which the information that's in there might be interesting. There's likely a real report that goes along with it. And that's what I go into. I go read the actual report. I want to see what the report says and what the data really speak to. And that's what's going to give me more interesting perspective, introspection. And then sometimes I just kind of use that information, but like, all right, cool. I'm going to make a post, an IG post about it. Because I know nobody's reading this much detail. Found out that Black people on average, as far as social media, we're 51% on TikTok. That's just kind of where we are now. Black people have shifted, and I haven't shifted to TikTok, but that's where everybody else is at. And then if obviously that's like the data you're talking about, knowing where the data is going to help you understand where to go. To some extent, I've heard that TikTok pays less. So it pays people less. Some people don't really go on YouTube anymore. There's also information in the Nielsen report that I read that Black boomers have increased their viewership on all things social media by 38% since 2020. So they're coming up, and people don't know, because they've increased their viewership. What happened is that Comcast, Xfinity, changed the way that they're actually providing internet content or internet services. So before, they only had one internet. There was one bracket internet way back in the day, because I remember this. You just buy internet, and that's cool, because there's just not a lot of people that was buying the internet. And sometimes it was bundled into internet, television, and telephone. All of that was bundled. At one point, a couple of years back, that's when they realized people are using it a lot more, and they're going to use it for computers or for gaming. So they created 3 tiers of internet. There's the internet for people that don't know no better. Like, hey, you just at the very bottom, it doesn't throttle much. You're on the computer every once in a while. They created internet blast for people that wanted a little bit more megabyte per second. that's going to really push it up. And then they created the last one, the final tier is for the gamers that know this detail, the nerds that understand that they need this a lot more gigabytes. So they created the 3 streams. Why? Because now instead of just one internet speed, you have all 3 and you're making 3 types of money. So, but you increase the price for every other subsequent person. So the basic one becomes basic, then the middle one gets paid more premium, and the last one is the premium. Get that one? So now, recently, I'm like, why is my Comcast going up? So I went and looked into it. I looked in a lot deeper. And I found out that now Xfinity has created 5. We went from 1 to 5. That means there's a basic one for basically people like boomers that don't really use a lot of internet in their household. They don't know any better. So I'm going to charge them anything anyways. That's fine. And then the final one that used to be the gamer one, if you want this gamer one, this tier elite, you're going to pay a whole hell of a lot more. So I'm going to make money off of you. And for the 3 people in between, if you're like a single person by yourself, maybe that one's for you, the first one. But if you're a person with like 12 devices at your house, you're going to need the second, the third or the fourth version. Because now they're saying that, hey, I'm not going to give you so much internet because you have so much data you're pulling from the interweb. So all this to say, if you are not paying attention, it's going to cost you more and more to live. And now my internet went from $50 or $60 per month to $125.
You still not back in the office?
Still not back in, and I need a faster internet because we have like we have the Nest, we have the smart lights, we got the Alexas, we got the cell phones juicing up all of this, and also at work, if we need to do Zoom, so on and so forth, I'm gonna need this thing to survive. So I actually had to upgrade to the next level up, and that's now 120 or 125 plus tax, obviously. So what does that mean for me? That means I need to figure out how to make my business profitable. Because if I'm going to pay more for this, then I'm going to need the business to make me more money. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Leave it at that.
So that's what I learned from all the scenarios. Just I guess to wrap it up, because I know we've been going on for a bit. The goal is that life is going to change. The prices are going to go up around you. But the most knowledgeable people are the ones that succeed. So if you're not gearing yourself to be more than a consumer, you're going to end up paying way more for every bit of the lifestyle that you want to live in life. So I would highly recommend that you start being strategic with how your months are going, your quarters are going, and start understanding that, you know, the walls can close down around you. And I think a lot of America is going to figure that out in the next 5 to 10 years. That is going to get tighter for them to move around. The constraints are going to get more heightened, and you're going to see a lot of anxiety, depression, because people are not going to be able to afford the lifestyle that they had in 2019. You can find me at the Neighborhood Finance Guy with all the bad news, like all the great blog posts and additional opportunities for you to learn, as well as workshops. And I also do personal consultation that could help you with your businesses, your budgeting, your investing, as well as your wealth down the line. So my goal is to really retire as a multimillionaire. And I think it's very possible for a lot of people if only they understood what they need to do today. So that's where you can find me on the interwebs, the Neighborhood Finance Guy.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode. There was we touched on so many points, and this conversation went on so many other directions. But the main part is to center it all, is to stop being too much of a consumer and really try to be a learner, student. Open yourself up to different things so you can start consuming the knowledge they'll be able to apply to your everyday life, and and hopefully pivot and exceed the trajectory that you trying to be on. So I mean, that's essentially is the goal for all of us, is to be that center person, but more or less it's just being successful within our own lives. And a lot of time it takes getting off TikTok getting off social media, and I'm calling out myself right now, because sometimes you're into too much of what's going on, but you can't distract yourself from your own life. And that's all that we're trying to say is try to be more proactive in your life and be a student of life so you can master your own life, right? You can find me, Atlanta, on IG. Will be on the show notes. I'm also on YouTube. When I do post, I will post, and it's coming up soon. So I really appreciate you guys listening, comments, critiques, everything. How about you, Lovely? What was that? What was that side eye?
Went blank.
Oh, it looks like it went blank. I'm like, what? I thought you were trying to, like, give me a code for something. I'm like, is that a code for something?
No, there's no code. Well, thank you for listening to this episode. We did talk about a lot of different things. So I'm gonna end with, you can find me at Lovely Mardellis. Literally just Google. My LinkedIn will show up. Connect on LinkedIn. I am on IG too at Lovely Mardellis. I hope that you enjoy your whatever time you listen to this, and thank you for listening to the Financial Griot.
We out. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Financial Griot podcast, powered by the Wealth Builders Collective.